While Joe Biden started his presidency out strong with high overall support, the high note didn't last forever. We saw those numbers take a dive and then stagnate at roughly 40%. Well, a new Pew Research Center survey provides an in-depth look at Biden's support or lack thereof. According to the study, 41% of adults approve of Biden's job performance, which is substantially lower than last April when it was 59%. The center's senior researcher, Baxstar Oliphant, joins us now to discuss. Welcome to the show, Baxstar. So tell us, this in-depth, a lot of us have been wanting to know exactly why his poll numbers are tanking. So give us some insight on this.
There's a lot of reasons why his numbers seem to be declining. We've asked, beginning last year, for the public to rate their confidence in Joe Biden to handle a number of issues. And over the time period, the last few months, it's really gone down across the board. And one of the most striking places where he's lost the public's confidence is in his ability to handle the consequences of the coronavirus outbreak. About a year ago, in April of last year, 65% were very or somewhat confident in his ability to handle that. And now it's down to about 44%.
Well, and do you think that just reflects the fact that we had, as of a month ago, the pandemic, not in terms of deaths and hospitalizations, but in terms of raw cases, the pandemic felt more out of control than it ever has at any point in the last 2 years. Not a lot, Biden can do about a new variant, but maybe it's a case of overpromising and under-delivering, or he should not have, promised that, or they should not have made promises about how effective the vaccines would be on case transmission, and then, a year later, we're in this situation still, and people say, well, they have no grasp of the situation.
We haven't asked exactly what the public thought about what Biden was promising, but the data does clearly show a lot of Americans felt he could handle the pandemic, last spring, and it has been declining. Especially the numbers that had that were very confident he could handle it are about half now of what they are. Now it's about, now 15% say they're very confident. It was 32% before. So there has been a real erosion in the public's perceptions of his ability to handle the pandemic.
And Baxter, my own theory is that things really broke right around the withdrawal from Afghanistan, where the mainstream media, just absolutely livid at the war being ended, spent 2 weeks, highlighting every frightening image from that withdrawal, and you started to see for the first time a precipitous decline, and it followed from there. Do you see that in your own research? Do you get a sense that the Afghanistan withdrawal is the thing that divides kind of early popular Biden from the Biden we have today?
We do not have data week by week to really prove that, but we asked Biden approval in July last year, and he did have 55% job approval at the time. The next time we were in the field with a survey asking Biden's job approval was September, and he did lose over 10 percentage points of support at the time. It went from 55% in July to 44%, and we've seen a further 3 percentage point decline through January. So in that period is where a lot of his support bled away, and it was concentrated among those Democrats and Democratic leaners, among the leaners who are a little less attached to the party, a little less attached to him as the president. They were the biggest droppers over that time period.
If the COVID situation... Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Kim.
Well, it's interesting that that COVID is their number one, that even though the biggest percentage points was when, after the withdrawal of Afghanistan, right in that time period, right before the virus started really surging again, it's interesting that people still cite the virus and the pandemic as the reason for their lack of support. Do you have any more in-depth research on that? What is it specifically? Do they want him to be harder and do more mandates? Do they want fewer mandates and they feel like, or do they want more, did you get any details? Do they want more PPE gear, more tests? Like, what is it specifically that they were upset about?
Our data, we didn't ask specifically what people want to see the administration do, But we did ask people how much of a threat they thought the virus is. This is something we've been tracking every couple of months throughout the pandemic. And what's surprising is that attitudes about the threat of the virus to the health of the United States to the United States is surprisingly constant over the last few months. It hasn't changed quite a lot. There's a very big partisan difference over the threat people perceive that the virus represents to the health of the United States. 76% of Democrats say it's a major threat versus only 34% of Republicans. But exactly what they want the government to be doing, we didn't get into on this survey.
Well, I think Biden might just get lucky finally in that in the coming weeks, I suspect, a lot of people suspect, finally, fingers crossed, who knows, could be a lot of complications, but that COVID will drastically lessen as a force, we're grappling with as Omicron recedes, again, as long as there's nothing coming up behind it. And then I guess the question will be, with that finally dying down, does Biden's poll numbers rebound or should there, we haven't talked about the economy. I guess maybe the economy will get better after COVID is well and truly put to bed, or to the extent it's ever going to be put to bed. And then we're talking about the economy, we're talking about inflation, and what Biden can do to right that ship. Is that long term, likely to be more of the indicator of his approval or lack thereof?
It certainly could. There's a lot going on this survey. We did ask about perceptions of how the economy is doing, and the public's views of the economy are very negative right now. Very few Americans say economic conditions right now are excellent or good. Just 28% say that. 21% of the public say that they're satisfied with the direction of the country. So on the economy, there is a sense that things are not going quite right.
And so do you suspect that he will get a rebound? Like how does COVID going away intersect with these politics based on what you're seeing, the numbers there?
I will not make a prediction because there's so much going on. Though I will say, on this survey, we asked about confidence in Biden to handle a lot of different issues. COVID was just one of them. That we also asked about making good decisions about immigration, making good decisions about the economy. And for all of those things, his ratings are down. So Biden is seen as less capable by the public to handle many different issues. And so if one improves, it's hard to predict whether that will help pull his numbers up across the board or if all those other issues will still weigh him down. So he's facing a number of challenges, and the public is rating him as less capable to face those issues.
Yeah, and the reopening of the economy post-Omicron could drive more inflation too.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Which will infuriate people.
That could be.
We'll see. So, Baxter, thanks so much for sharing this.
Thank you.
And we'll have more Rising right after this.